Hi, I'm Susanna Bowling, and this is T2C, or Times Square Chronicles. And we're here today with Michael Wolk of Gorgeous Entertainment for All for One Festival.
The All for One Theater Festival is all solo performance. They're not one-act plays as you think of them, but they're all one-person shows.
But wouldn't they be one acts because
Well, they're one acts because we don't have any shows with intermissions.
Right.
But at the same time, we think they're full length. So we don't like to think of them as being diminished, in any way. They're full evenings. They're full stories. They're in some cases epic narratives.
Can you tell us first about Gorgeous Entertainment?
Sure. Gorgeous Entertainment was started with my partner Kumiko Yoshii, and she's Japanese, and we do a lot of things with Japan. We bring things from Japan. We brought Temple of the Golden Pavilion to Lincoln Center just recently. Mm-hmm. Before that, we brought Mishima, another play, to Lincoln Center. We did Pacific Overtures on Broadway a few years ago.
I saw that.
Yes, and the director's a client of ours, Amon Miyamoto.
Okay.
So we continue to do things where we can facilitate productions of Japanese plays here, but we've also sent plays over there. My partner is currently very involved with sending Broadway shows to Japan.
How much does Japan relate to the Broadway shows that are from us?
They relate to them quite well. It depends. Certain ones go over better than others, as we've discovered. Like, for example, Urinetown, not quite. They didn't quite get that, But other ones, and Xanadu just went over their heads. But for example, like Fiddler on the Roof is done there every year.
Wow.
Every year.
Now, do you cast from Japan, or do you bring American companies in?
Most of what our work has been is to bring American casts over there. Wow. And it becomes like an extended part of their tour. They get done in Schenectady, and then they go to Tokyo.
You also did anime. How did that come about?
I worked with bringing anime to college campuses for a while.
What kind of anime did you bring to college campuses?
Our favorite was Grave of the Fireflies. It's a very sad story, but it's about the firebombing of Japan during World War II and two children trying to survive in the war-torn landscape. And it's a very, very compelling anti-war film. And it's a great film, so we felt really good about being able to take it around to several campuses and screen it.
Now, how did you get involved from doing that into the solo performances?
Well, the All for One Theater Festival is kind of a reaction to the fact that there have been so many cutbacks in theater. There have been so many theaters that have produced musicals that no longer exist.
Right.
And there's been such budget constraints and all that stuff. I saw how difficult actually it was to launch a new musical, how hard it was to capitalize a new musical. And of course I love doing those things and continue to try to do those things. But what I also noticed at the same time is there's a real burgeoning of solo talent around. I mean, really, really good people that all by themselves can hold a huge hall captive while they tell a compelling story, and they tell it with every fiber of their being. And there's more of that around, but there's nothing really happening with it past Fringe festivals and such. Like, you'll see a great show in the Fringe and it'll win the best solo show in the Fringe, and then it will just kind of evaporate. It doesn't go anywhere from there. Once you get out of the New York area, there's not a national solo repertoire, really.
That would be true.
So what this festival does is gather all really winning shows in every sense. I mean, they've won critical acclaim, they've won festivals, and they really are kind of looking for the next step. So our festival is a way of presenting these shows to New York audiences, but it's also a way of gathering them for a future life of touring them. So once the festival is over, we're going to continue to represent those shows. We're going to go to conferences such as the Association of Performing Arts Presenters, which is all the theaters
Right.
in America coming looking for talent. And we're going to be offering all these solo shows to all these different venues. And
Are you planning on moving them as a group, or do you plan on moving them singly?
well, we'll be doing whatever people want. We're anticipating that most of them will be single.
Right.
But the fact is that there are some theaters that will maybe want to do a weekend, or maybe they'll want to do their own mini festival of solo work. We can accommodate that as well. And all our performers are also teaching artists, so that they can teach workshops, they can do talkbacks after the shows, so they're really great ambassadors for their own work, and so we feel very comfortable that we can send them to any theater and they will engage the community and on these very important topics. It's a problem too with the solo genre that it has a bad rep, I think, of being self-indulgent actor therapy. And we're countering
Yes, that would be
Yes,
true.
yes.
Except there's people like Elaine Duvall, who did Brownsville Bread this year, that
I heard that was great. I didn't see.
was amazing. Seriously
59
amazing.
is 59. Was it?
Yeah, 59 is 59.
I was first struck with the idea when I was going to the Fringe, and I realized like 1/4 of the shows, like sometimes this year there were 48 of the shows were solo shows, you know. So my awareness of this this kind of fulmination of this great form was based on a few different shows, but I think the person that really woke me up to it was Mike Daisey.
Okay.
Because Mike Daisey has written, I imagine, in excess of a dozen shows now, and he's now he's at the Public, and he's on our advisory board, and he was one of the first people when we had this idea that we went to say, well, to find really good stuff, what should we do? Where should we look? Who should we talk to? And Mike was very firm about saying that the thing about this festival, to set it apart from all other festivals, is that you can allow no, can I say it on the air? You can allow no shit. There can't be any shit. Because if there's one piece of shit, people will focus on that. Our criteria for the shows are not really how much the performer changes, but how does the performer change the audience? You know?
How much would you say is propaganda in these shows as opposed to theater? That's what's happening a lot this year.
I would say that all these shows, because they're intensely personal, and they all have a real point of view, but I wouldn't call them propaganda. I would call them perhaps personal manifestos of some sort. You know, I mean, just statements of real belief and something that people feel that is true to their core. And all these people in our festival have to have shows that inform and inspire, and that move and that matter. So that the idea is not that we watch an actor transform, but that the actor transforms and transforms us. Yes, we all transform. We all take the journey. When I see these shows, they're not even, you know, they're even cinematic to me, because you have to fill in so much, because it's one actor on a bare stage most cases, you know, and they're creating an entire world. They're creating an entire journey, and in often cases many characters. So you are really seeing a movie there, and I think that because they're such powerful narratives, that they're a great starting point for a film. And I hadn't been thinking of sitcoms, but it would be the same. It would be true, because there's such a core of truth and a commitment to a certain worldview that it would make sense it could play out over a long period.
Do you see a theme going throughout the plays?
Okay.
What would it be?
I think all the shows that we have, at a certain point, these performers came to a crossroads in their life where everything that came before had built up a critical mass inside them, that they decided that the next part of their journey was to broadcast what they had learned, and to broadcast the the change that they had felt so that they can change others. And there's, you know, a number of, the one that's most graphic to me is there's a show called Rash by Jenny Wolfson, and she's on her knees with a gun to her head in some treacherous land, and she's realizing that she hasn't thought enough about herself and thought enough about what she needs. She's been too busy thinking about everybody else, so that there has to be a balance of self-care and caring for others. And she had this epiphany with a gun to the head moment, but in gentler ways. I think these are all stories of people who in some way felt that they were at a watershed moment, and they need to share that information with us so that we can grow along with them on this journey.
What is the one thing you want people to know about you?
I think that with this solo festival idea, I've started to understand that the focus of one's efforts is really important, that we can all do great things, but we have to stay focused. And watching all these solo performers hit the bricks behind their stories and tell the story over and over, because it's so important to them to tell, makes me understand that my story, what I want to share with people, I guess, is that you can change people. You can make something happen in the world if you're focused. And I guess for me, this festival is a way of taking a bunch of strong voices and presenting them to the public, and hopefully great and wonderful changes will happen. And I would like to think that I can be part of a positive change.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. This is T2C with Michael Wolk and the All for One Theater Festival.